For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dhlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss how do we understand our freedom. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
Why do we have to celebrate Freedom Day despite having mixed emotions from organizations like Abahlali Basemjondolo, who are referring to this day as unfreedom?
Because I think we need to celebrate it because we were under apartheid, and under apartheid no one had freedom, and even if we do not have all the freedoms that everyone would want, it is a lot better than under apartheid, and we should never forget that. And that is why I support celebrating Freedom Day, but at the same time I believe we must reflect on what we understand by freedom. That is not something that just happened on April 27th, 1994. That is something that has to grow all the time. But when you've had someone like Zuma as president, you can't grow because you're so busy trying to recover what has been lost during that period. And that is part of the problem that we face now.
Referring to the Zuma era, what would it take for our president now, Cyril Ramaphosa, to make sure that the ANC remedy this situation?
Well, it's a lot of, it goes all over society. It's not something that you can say 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically, it was a period of illegality, it was a period of violence, it was a period of corruption, it was a period of state capture. It seems that he is doing quite a lot to remedy this. However, the ANC is divided, and the support base for Zuma is not 100%. You can see in KZN, for example, that they have decided to go ahead with electing regional executives and provincial executives, even though initially they said they were not ready, that the preparation was not adequate. And this seems to me to indicate the infighting and the possibility that you will have big divisions in KZN. Possibly the ANC is returning to the danger that it will fall below 50%.
And do you agree with those who are saying that freedom that was achieved was fatally flawed by compromise?
Well, it's compromise is necessary in politics, in the sense you can't always go directly from one point to the other. Sometimes you have to zigzag because you've got obstacles in the way. You have to either make a deal with the obstacles to get past them, or you have to go around them. Now, in the case of South Africa, there were a number of reasons why the government or the ANC of the time and the government had to go carefully. There was a danger of a right-wing coup d'etat. For example, at the CODESA, people may forget that the RVB drove right through the trade center at one point. So that was an example of the conditions at the time. There was an attempt to have a revolt from the Bophuthatswana Bantustan, with the RVB involved as well. So there were right-wing, but there was also the problem that the ANC inherited a more or less bankrupt state, so that it had to try to attract investment. But who wants to invest in South Africa when it is facing all these difficulties? So I had to try to win confidence.
In his book titled A History of Inequality in SA between 1952 to 2002, Professor Asambithe Bunch says that the corporate sector and some ANC leaders reached a hugely important Eliott Compromise. Would you agree? Why do you disagree with him?
Well, where's the evidence? That's all I'm saying. This morning on Twitter, someone is saying the same thing to me, perfect Hlongwane. And I said to him, where's the evidence? You see, I don't know if some people did not have these meetings But what we decided, I was in the leadership at the time, what we decided had nothing to do. No one asked me to come to dinners with big business. But if people did come to these dinners, what is the deal that was made? Where is the evidence? Let's hear the evidence. Let's hear that they made promises and that those promises were carried out. Because my view is that it was not free to the ANC-led government to do what it liked after then. It had to try to create stability, and all of those things required from the side of the ANC that certain caution had to be adopted.
And lastly, Raymond, do you think the way South Africa is celebrating this day is appropriate?
I don't know. You know, I don't know how you should be celebrating it. You know, I'm not organizing. I'm not an expert on how you organize celebrations. I think that we should be introspective. We should be reflective on ourselves and the problems that we have and what more we could do. And there is not a lot of discussion, analysis, reflection, and I've said this before, the ANC is no longer an ANC of ideas. If the ANC remains the leading force, it is not going to survive unless it infuses itself with debates. I think we need more debates. But I'm not sure that that is a way of celebrating. You know, people prefer dinners and things like that. I'm not expert on that.
Thank you, Professor.
Thanks a lot.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Crema Media's Polity about how do we understand our freedom.